So I'm going to start sharing. That is me on your screen at the moment. I am going to be talking about healing chronic anxiety and depression by reprogramming the unconscious mind. And I use a very integrative approach. I use clinical hypnotherapy, rapid transformational therapy, yoga, and quantum science. And I am starting my share. Okay. Okay, brilliant. Can everybody see that? Oh, I went a wee bit too fast in my slides. Let me go back. Okay, lovely. So even though my topic is about using integrative medicine as such, integration, I love my topic. I wrote on my screen, nobody told us. And I am for the last 10 years, I've been learning so much about healing, working with my clients, and every client that I work with is always teaching me something or the other. So, sorry, I just want to close this. If somebody could please keep time, that would be amazing. I'm just going to move this off my screen. Sorry. Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Right. So the healing. So over the last 16 years, I educated myself on unconscious mind work, and I learned so much about the superpowers of it. And as I was learning, I was also evolving as a therapist. Now, I'm so grateful that I've learned from some of the best teachers like Marissa Peer, which I learned rapid transformational therapy, Dr. Bandler, NLP, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Goswami, Satguru, and even my yoga teachers in India when I went to do my course. And I also started learning the science behind Hinduism. I'm a Hindu. So making my own travel from South Africa to the UK, where I do live now, also came with a lot of emotional baggage. And I realized that as human beings, we are carrying emotional baggage all the time. And if you agree, please pop your comments here, pop your feelings and emotions in the comments. So I am a holistic health science therapist, and I like to add the science there because in healing, there's science behind holistic healing. But to my clients, they refer to me as a life mastery architect, because I give them practical tools and the science behind so that they could live their best life. You know, I call it the life manual to become masters of the life and focus on our soul journeys. So most often I teach my clients, to move away from ego self and rise to the higher self. And we use I use different modalities that I've been studying over the years. I'm also a huge believer that if we have illness in the body, if our body made the illness, it also has the algorithm for the cure, but it needs a bit of patience. And what I love about the body is looking at my journey and the journeys of my clients, I've seen the healing taking place. When they work on the mental and emotional bodies, the physical body starts to heal. I will share a few very, very good examples at the end. I've got so many examples. My mind actually blows away when I look at my clients and how they've progressed. So I'm always a learner, and I'm still pursuing. I'm at the tail end of my PhD in integrative and natural medicine. And because I know that integrative medicine is the way forward, we have to find balance, and we have to integrate allopathic to complementary and alternate medicine. So nobody told us a lot of the things that I'm going to be sharing, or because I've learned it quite late in my life. So I'm going to ask you to use the power of your visualization here. And I want you to just close your eyes for just a moment. And I want you now to look at yourself, who you are today, what titles you hold, what clothes you're wearing, what families you have. And I want you to just strip everything away. Strip your role as mom, strip your role as parent, as therapist, as CEO, as directors. Just strip away all your hats that you wear. So who are you? And I'd love for you to actually comment on this in the chat box, because I'd really love to know, who are we when we strip away everything? Because most often, whenever we meet somebody, we always shake their hands and we say, I'm Nirasha Ramlugan, I'm a this, da, 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 da. So I already have a programmed way of introducing myself. But for healing to take place, we actually have to strip away everything. We learn and we change everything when we go down to nothing. And that's how beautiful I feel like this whole idea of going within yourself, surfing your inner net, because we become masters of surfing the internet for everything. So who are you? Does anybody want to just unmute yourself and just shout out who you are if you strip away everything? Okay. I think if you want to, please, let's make this act interactive, because I think you will get more out of what I'm sharing. So if we strip away everything, we basically are made up of two things. We are made up of chemicals and we are made up of energy. Now, chemicals, if we look at chemicals, our autonomic nervous system, the survival mode, the sympathetic nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system, waits, rest, digest, and creative mode, and our endocrine system helps us stimulate chemicals. The chemicals can be good chemicals that charge us, that makes us feel happy, or it could be chemicals that actually bring us down our spiral of life. Now, I love describing the endocrine system. It's like your body's Wi-Fi for hormones. Silently it's sending chemical. It's sending these chemical texts to your organs so that they know when to love, or when to chill, or when to grow, or even when to freak out. And then we have the next system, which is energy. We can walk into a room and we know exactly, without even speaking to them, who to stay away from, or who you are drawn to, who you're attracted to. So if we think about it, we are an electric power station inside of us. We are energy because every cell in our body acts like a mini electric power station. And when our mitochondria and the cell processes like mitosis is taking place, the cells are giving off, it's emitting tiny flashes of light. Now, this cellular light is actually called biophotons, and it was discovered by Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. He was a German biophysicist in 1979. Now, this subtle light energy can be actually harnessed for ourselves to communicate to each other and to also regulate our biology. Now, so our patients and our clients can use this light system in our body for energy healing, to restore balance, to tune in. It's like, when they tune in, or where they turn a flickering bulb back to full glow. And the work that you do, you basically take a flickering bulb for your clients and you help them to find their full glow. Now, this is how our cells actually look. when it is going through cell division, it's giving off flickers of light. And we also have something around us, and I know you must have done this experiment when you were a child at school. You know, you take a magnet with positive and negative, and then you throw metal filings on it, and it forms this lovely, beautiful pattern on the piece of paper. And then you look and you say, wow. But we have the same pattern that's flowing through us. We have the same energy. Every one of us have the same energy that is flowing through from our heart back into us. And that is why they say, you know, the law of attraction, whatever you give off, you get back in. Because everything stems from us. We are so good at blaming everybody else for our problems. Yes, there is weight in that, but healing starts with us. Everything starts with us. Our thoughts, our choices, our emotions, everything starts with us. So if everything starts with us and we have this electromagnetic field around us, I have mine. You are sitting in another country or in another place, and you also have your own electromagnetic field. And guess what? On this room, on this webinar today, we are forming an electromagnetic web. Now, even though you are somewhere else, we affect each other. And this is what we call quantum entanglement. When I started, if somebody spoke to me about quantum about 12, 15 years ago, I would have thought it's just a computer program. But when I started my PhD program, I was like blown away because the information that's out there in the universe is the same inside here. But how do we connect both? There are ways to connect and download. And that's the beautiful part of it. So emotionally and mentally ill clients, you know, where you know that they feel uneasy, they feel this dis-ease in their vibrations. And the other picture there is a human aura. And this is before meditation and after. You can even take this type of photography is called Kerlin photography. And you can even take up pictures of your clients and see how their electromagnetic field is around them. And this is like a really good way of measuring also how they actually are feeling. So when I was growing up, nobody told me this. Nobody told me that this what exists around me. Because if I knew it much younger, my life would have been absolutely different in a certain way. So we do need to detox. We do need to detox mentally, emotionally, and physically. And we cannot treat just parts anymore. We cannot just treat the physical body. We need to treat the mental body. We need to treat the emotional body. And we need to see wholeness again to bring this coherence in the body. And that is what I love teaching my clients. So how do we heal our clients? So how do we heal our clients from mental conditions? So stress, anxiety, and depression, we hear these words so often. I call it the sad thug, and my clients started calling that too, because they've realized that this invisible gangster, the trio, has hijacked our minds, it's messed up with our moods, it steals our peace, and in many of my clients, they've been doing it for years. Stress, anxiety, and depression has been stealing away their life for years and years and years. So we know that depression is suppression of our emotions and feelings that we've experienced in the past. The past is dead and gone. But it is also the home of most of the chronically depressed clients that I have. They are stuck in the past. And according to WHO, in 2023, it was estimated 3.8% of the world's population has experienced depression. And I'm sure that these percentages have gone up. So 3.8%, sorry, I got it wrong. It shouldn't have been 33%, 3.8%. So 3.8% is like 280 million people in the world that is suffering with depression. Now, it could be because of hormonal imbalances, lack of self-worth, lack of inner strength, being in narcissistic relationships, and even cultural reasons. More than 700,000 people die through suicide every year. And it's between the ages of 15 and 29 years old. So where are we going wrong? Where is the system going wrong? What system is broken? Take anxiety, for instance. Most of my clients come with anxiety. If I'm treating them with a mental illness, it's mostly anxiety and depression. If I'm treating them with a physical illness, it's because they've been highly stressed for many years and they don't know where the pause button is. So anxiety, I always explain to them that anxiety is just being stuck in the future. You're projecting your feelings, your emotions of your past into your future. The future hasn't even been born, but we find our clients and even us sometimes, we stress about it. About 4% of this global population lives with anxiety, lives with this anxiety disorder at any given time. And that is around like 301 million people worldwide. Now imagine if 301 million people are resonating negative energies. You look around, think about all the wars that are taking place. Think about all the floodings, all these solar flares, all of those things. Are we not contributing towards it just by our thoughts and our emotions? Let's look at stress. Stress is when we are experiencing the now. It affects and changes our autonomic nervous system. It stimulates our endocrine system. And 33% of the world's population has reported some form of stress in their life. 33%. That's a big number. So over the years of conditioning our physical body, our tissues, our muscles, our organs, they all hold on to this deep-rooted memory of trauma, the emotional baggage, the pain we've experienced, the grief, the loss, the abuse. And that is why people are suffering with this sad bug. So one of my idols, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I just simply love his whole philosophy. I saw him in Basel this year, and he's one of my lecturers in the work that I've been studying over the last 4.5 years. So to see him in real life was like, oh my God, it blew my mind away. So he says, when you are under the gun of fight or flight nervous system, being run by its cocktail of intoxicating chemicals, you are programmed. In a very real sense, we become addicts to those familiar feelings. Now, when our clients come to us, they've had been playing the same story, the same narrative, years and years and years. They have been creating the same cocktail of chemicals for years. And they actually become victims of it. They become addicts. And if you think about it, when we are sad, when we are depressed, when we are going through anxiety, the body is filled with cortisol and adrenaline. Think about how many of your clients, that resistance you get at the beginning, it's because it's not that they don't want to change. It's because we need to undo whatever the body has saved. That our emotions, the trauma, like I mentioned, is saved in our cells. So for us to change and for us to help our clients heal, we need to help them detox. Survival mode, cortisol and adrenaline, love mode, oxytocins, and oxytocins is one of the best environment for your cells to thrive. You've heard of people being curing themselves from cancers and other illnesses. And when science cannot explain it, it's a miracle. But how do they do it? They start to love themselves. They start to go inwardly and they start to fill their body with oxytocins and endorphins. I actually teach my clients to rise above the ego mode. The ego mode is the judgmental mode, the negative mode, the ruthless mode, to that higher self. And what is higher self? Self-love, self-belief, self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. And that's when they get to that stage, they have the reins to their life and they can move forward, making their own choices, knowing their righteousness for their lives, and that's where their abundance comes in. We also get another cocktail. How many of you like skydiving, roller coasters, going into an ice shower? Now, when I teach my clients to do this, because it gives them a hit of dopamine, and we all need those thrills and frills in our life. We all need that hit of dopamine. And also, how many of us, when we have a headache or when we have pain in our body, we go for the tablet or for the medication. Have you ever thought the next time, what, let me create some serotonin, let me eat some dark chocolate, let me laugh a little, let me go outside, let me create some endorphins and serotonin, which is a natural painkiller. So where our feelings and emotions are based on four things: our past experiences. We know all our limiting beliefs. We know how the brain works. We know how, when a child is from inside the womb, it's already predetermining the environment that it's coming out into. It prepares for it. We know that our past experiences, the limiting beliefs we picked up from our parents, from our grandparents, from our environment, from school, all of those things affect our lives. The environment that we live in, it's called epigenetics, that affects how we feel, that affects the emotions. And then we also have childhood beliefs. The childhood beliefs are the limiting beliefs that we picked up. We live our adult life through the eyes of that little child. And it's so damaging to the person that you are at that present. And that is what I teach my clients. And we must never, ever forget the soul journey. Our soul has come here for a specific purpose. When you have some of my clients will say, why am I attracting the same man in my life that's causing me pain, that's narcissist? Or why am I always not financially free? Why am I getting the same problem over and over and over? It's because they haven't learned the lesson. When we learn the lesson, the life is never the same. So listening to the soul is so important. And for me, I do that every morning. And I have my way of doing it too, which I'll share. So you've seen this, you've seen you've seen how the mind is represented by the iceberg. You know that there's a conscious mind, which we use less than 5%. We know that there's an unconscious level, an unconscious mind, which I work on. Most of my work is done unconsciously because we set on default to hold all the fears, to hold all the violent motives, the irrational wishes, the shameful experiences, the selfish needs. It's all there. And that we use 95% of that, and that affects our life unconsciously. And those different levels of consciousness is also linked to our brainwaves. For us to get to the unconscious level, the unconscious mind, we need to go right down to theta brainwaves. We need to slow our brainwaves so that we can focus on one thought at a time. When you are in your conscious mind, you are in beta brainwaves or high beta brainwaves. When you go to sleep at night or you want to tap into a memory, you go into alpha brainwaves and so on. So our unconscious mind, one of the golden rules, and Marissa Peer mentioned this, our unconscious mind doesn't know what's real from unreal. So knowing this rule, how can we help our clients change quickly? So I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to stop share because I want you to put on your videos here. And I want to do this very quick. Sorry, I'm just finding I haven't used this platform before. How do I stop share? Ah, got it. Stop. Brilliant. So if you can put on your cameras, or if you're in your pajamas, that's fine too, if you took a day off. So I want you to just put your hands out like this in front of you, lock it at the elbows. Okay? I want you to just roll up your eyeballs. One of the best ways to access your unconscious mind and to start slowing down your brain waves is rolling up your eyeballs. So if you have problems or your clients have problems sleeping at night, let them to roll up their eyeballs. Because when you're trying to make a child sleep and you're rocking them this way, their eyeballs are just getting rolled up and down. Right, so lock your elbows. I want you to just roll up your eyeballs, take a nice deep breath in and out. Take another deep breath in and out. And now just close your eyes. Your eyes are now closed, locked together. And I want you to use the power of your mind. I want you in your right hand. I am tying 100 helium balloons. 100 helium balloons. The helium balloons are just making your wrists lighter and lighter and just lifting it up, lifting it up, lift, lift, lift. And in your left hand, you are holding a red bucket full of lead, heavy, heavy lead. And it's just pulling your left hand down. But your right hand is lighter, light as a feather just being pulled up gracefully. And as I click my fingers, it carries on, being pulled up gracefully, while your left hand is so heavy, so heavy. And even though you try to fight that heavy bucket, you just want to let it go. Just carry on holding it. It's pulling your hand down. Just open your eyes now and look at your hands. You might have experienced something light. You might have experienced your right hand lighter. Just shake it up. You might have experienced your left hand quite heavy. Now, you are not holding a heavy bucket. You didn't have 100 helium balloons in your right hand, but your mind didn't know what was real from unreal. If I had to tell you to close your eyes and imagine you biting into a big yellow sour lemon, you'd find that your salivary glands will start making saliva. So if our minds don't know what's real from unreal, we can teach our clients to change their inner dialogue. So instead of saying how horrible, how useless they are, they could say, you know what, I am fierce like a tiger. I am powerful. I am enough. And this is the type of language that they could use. Sorry, I'm just sharing. I need to just share my screen again. Okay. So what do I really do? Why do I use what I do? Hello. Okay, cool. Got it. Too much. Fantastic. So now in my practice, I literally use this, the 5M flow of healing. I use the 5 M's, which is the mindset, the mirror, movement, micro and macro nutrition, and manifestation. So when I think about mindset, and I always introduce, we have to work on the mindset. The mindset is this wave, I always say, And it's where you, you know, healing begins with the mindset, you know, how you choose your thoughts, how you honor them, how you align yourself with your own truth. I also work on the mirror. When they look at themselves in the mirror, you know what? Life is your mirror. You know, what's your triggers? What's your patterns? What are you seeing back? Are you loving what you're seeing back? And then we look at movement. Our bodies are made up of water, and water attracts vibrational energy, vibrational frequencies. And if we have up to 86% water in our body, so movement is very important. So movement, your body is your first home. And if you set the right intention, it could be dancing, it could be exercise, yoga asanas, because all of this movement can actually release whatever stored emotions you have, and it can help your body to return to its natural state of wisdom. And then we can't just work on that and not work on nutrition. You know, what you put into your body, your gut is your second, your brain. And there's so much of worth in micro and macro nutrition. So your food is your frequency. You know when you feel for that chocolate, or you know when you feel for a nice big salad. We need to listen more carefully. So I teach my clients to do that. And food also helps, nutrition also helps to bring more balance and harmony to your hormones. You know when you've had a big bowl of pasta, you know your energy just zaps down and you just want to go for the nearest bed. But the reality is that, nutrition is a huge part. And I always tell my clients that when you are in sync with all of the five things, you manifest. You manifest and you create the life that you want. You are the creator. They are the creator. They need to believe in it. And what I use to actually surf this internet, I use hypnotherapy, which is unconscious mind work. I use rapid transformational therapy, where we go down to the root cause, where we go and investigate. We then understand, then we install new ways of thinking, new behaviors. Yoga science is a huge thing for me. When people think of yoga, they just think, oh, it's just on your yoga mat doing different poses. It's not that. It's such a sacred way of teaching your body how to breathe properly, how to move properly, how to quieten the body, how to use your voice and chant and change your energies, and also nutrition again. There's a huge focus on nutrition, eating seasonal foods, how we eat bananas throughout the year. Bananas is something that we shouldn't be eating when it's cold. It's a tropical, it's in countries that we're supposed to be quite warm, and it has an effect on our blood system and our bodies. And the last one is quantum science healing. We are vibrations, we are frequencies. And I teach my clients to set the right intention and create the right frequency. And if they can do that, they can change the way they feel. They can then heal by shifting from ego self to the higher self. And that's where the power is. So this is a huge thing that I do. When we focus on the potential with intention, it stops being a possibility and it actually then manifests and becomes a reality. So my clients, when they connect with me, right from the Zoom consult that I do to filling in the intake questionnaire, it's a therapeutic session. And right to the therapeutic sessions, the healing flows. And as healers and therapists, the way we are affects our clients. We all are in this entanglement because of our electromagnetic fields. And if we, as therapists, if we are not authentic, if we preach but don't practice, it becomes detrimental to our clients. If we are carrying emotional baggage and trauma and our energies are not conducive to the healing of our clients. So therefore, we need to prioritize self-care. We need to prioritize daily healing for ourselves. We need to, so for me, I listen to my self-hypnosis every day. I listen to meditations. I do my yoga practice. I do my breath healing throughout the day. I take time out to just do some pranayamas. I also believe that, like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, where attention goes, energy flows. I have them measure their progress by completing an observer diary. And this is the observer diary. When they come to me, I use this continuum. And when they see that they are improving each week, that becomes a motivating factor. They see light. They see that, yes, I'm getting stronger. Yes, I'm doing it. I'm using all of Nirasha's tools, and I'm seeing the results. And when they can see how they've been changing throughout the 8 weeks, they realize that they can do it. They realize their self-worth and their self-love, and they start to realize their higher self. So I teach my clients, I don't stay away from the jargon. I teach them about quantum. I teach them about yoga science and quantum science, and something that I always get all my clients to do is a quantum vision and achievement board, because that helps them to introduce themselves to potential and to purpose. I'm just looking at the time. I'm nearly finished. So I just want to introduce you to some of the wonderful work clients I have. So I work online and through and face to face. I spot this is my 19-year-old. She blacked out during her A-level exams. She had to now. She came down in biology, and she couldn't follow her dream. She wanted to become a pharmacist. So she spent this whole year, the first few months, moping, and then she started therapy with me. And in 8 hours of therapy, which spread over 2 months, she resat her exam last week. She, she started sitting in the ice bath for 10 seconds. She couldn't lean towards her discomfort. And this was the last time, which was a few weeks ago. She sat in there for 2 minutes. She became so relaxed. She was not fighting it anymore. Then I have this client here who's squatting. She's my 31-year-old. She's a speech and language therapist. She was diabetic. She didn't have a period for over 20 months. And since COVID, she was anxious and depressed. Her body had so much of pain in it. And I used RTT to get to the root cause of her weight gain. And it's not even 3 or 4 weeks later, she started having her periods, and she's now had her 3rd consecutive period, and she's losing weight beautifully. And then I have this lovely child here in the white. I'm calling him a child, but he's not. He's 19. He's highly autistic. He's ADD, ADHD, and he's functioning at the level of a 5-year-old. And I've worked with him for 10 weeks. When he came to me, he couldn't sit on his legs. He couldn't cross his feet. His language was a big problem, but his improvements were phenomenal. And the joy I learned from him was just amazing. And then I have this lovely, beautiful human being here. She's Anna. She was my very first infertility and client I had. And she was in her late 30s, and she struggled for 12 years to have a child. She went through IVF. She had multiple miscarriages. But within 2.5 months of treating her, she conceived. And her child is now 4 years old. And she's got a second child who's 2. And it's weird. It's not weird. It's actually a blessing when we have coherence in the body, what the body can actually do. So I want to just, I take my hat off to every client of mine, because I'm super proud of them. And I know you are too of yours. I just want to say that I just want to share the medication that I give them, the drugs that I give them. The medication I give them is actually this. I give them tools to surf the internet. And the most important thing is they understand what the value of time is. And they started to tweak and use their time wisely. So meditation is the new modern medication. I teach them to live consciously, practice mindfulness like what Slavitzia was talking about, being in the present. I give them a golden book to write their golden moments for their journals, and all their negative experiences, I give them a pack of post-its. They write them and they burn them at the end of the week. I teach them to start loving themselves without conditions. I also introduce to them how to move their bodies. I give them a playlist every morning to just shake and just dance and just move around. I also help them to slow down their breath and give their heart a longer lifespan. They choose their own, chanting, chants, and they chant it daily. They use nature to nurture their souls. One of their medication that they have to do is walking bare feet on grass daily. They connect themselves with their inner self. That's where the magic happens. And I teach them to find their own inner doctor. For my clients that come to me with physical illnesses, from chronic pain to diabetes to heart health to gut health, I teach them to find their own inner doctor. We use natural and holistic ways, but we actually work on the emotional, mental, and the physical bodies. And I also advise every person, even us as therapists, be the generation that breaks the generational loop of limiting beliefs and disease in your life. And I teach them that healing must be a priority, not a choice. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, please unmute yourself. I hope this helped on seeing how I use multiple natural ways of healing with my clients, because it is a multiple approach. We will be healing a person on the whole, and there's not one size fits all. We have to be very bespoke because we all come with our own, in Hinduism, we call it samskaras, which means our own characters and personalities, etc., and our own baggage. And thank you so much for listening and for participating. And yes, that brings me to the end. If you have any questions, please fire away. I'll do my best in answering them. Yes, Isla, please unmute yourself and you're most welcome to just ask me. How does reprogramming the unconscious mind help in reducing chronic anxiety? So remember the iceberg that I showed you? So the root cause of the anxiety is generally saved in that part of the iceberg. So when we are using unconscious mind work, we are slowing down the brain waves so that we can delve right to that depth and empty that part of the unconscious mind. So when you do that, you're getting rid of those limiting beliefs. You're getting rid of that the emotional baggage that's holding you back, that's causing you to feel like you're not good enough, and that brings out the anxiety in you. So therefore, when you slow down the brainwaves, and unconscious work is literally slowing down your brainwaves so you can focus on one thought at a time. And when you understand your problems under hypnosis, it's phenomenal because you're not in your conscious state. You're not judging yourself, what you're saying. You're not being hard on yourself. That side of you is asleep. So it's very powerful. I've been using it for the last 16 years, and the results have been phenomenal. Thank you for your question. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's very kind. Thank you. Thank you, Tazeen. Means a lot. Thank you.